Whoopi Goldberg's lawsuit backfires as Karoline Leavitt outsmarts a corrupt judge. In the heart of New York City, where the media never sleeps and power is often wielded behind closed doors, an unexpected legal battle erupted that would shake the nation. What began as a seemingly straightforward defamation lawsuit quickly spiraled into a high-stakes political and legal drama, one that would pit Hollywood royalty against one of Washington's rising stars. The lawsuit that started it all. Whoopi Goldberg, the celebrated actress and co-host of The View, had never been one to shy away from controversy. But this time, she wasn't the one throwing punches on national television. She was throwing lawsuits. Accusing a high-profile conservative commentator of spreading false and malicious statements about her, Goldberg sought millions in damages. The mainstream media, predictably, rallied behind her, portraying the case as an open-and-shut example of defamation. But what the public didn't initially realize was that this lawsuit wasn't just about protecting a celebrity's reputation. It was about silencing dissent. The defendant, a well-known conservative analyst, had been vocal about Goldberg's political hypocrisy, and sources suggested that powerful figures in the entertainment industry wanted to make an example out of her. The case landed in the courtroom of Judge Samuel Hartman, a longtime friend of the Hollywood elite, whose rulings often seemed to favor the rich and famous. It wasn't long before whispers of corruption began to spread. Evidence was dismissed without explanation, key witnesses were mysteriously discredited, and Goldberg's legal team appeared to have an unusual level of influence over the proceedings. Enter Karoline Leavitt. While the media continued its one-sided coverage of the case, one person saw through the smoke and mirrors. Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary and rising star in conservative politics. At just 27, Leavitt had already built a reputation as a fierce defender of free speech, relentless advocate for justice, and an unshakable voice against corruption. Leavitt had been following the case closely, but it wasn't until a whistleblower approached her with damning evidence that she knew she had to act. The whistleblower, a former clerk in Judge Hartman's office, provided secret emails showing that the judge had coordinated with Goldberg's attorneys to craft rulings in her favor. The case was rigged from the start. Armed with undeniable proof of corruption, Leavitt devised a plan. Instead of immediately going public, she waited for the perfect moment to strike. She reached out to independent journalists, bypassing the mainstream media, and arranged for an explosive exposé to drop just as the trial was reaching its climax. The shocking revelation. On the morning of the trial's most crucial hearing, the exposé hit the internet like a tidal wave. It detailed how Judge Hartman had been in secret communication with Goldberg's legal team, instructing them on how to frame their arguments for the best possible rulings. Screenshots of emails, financial transactions, and even a leaked phone recording left no room for doubt. This was judicial corruption at its worst. The revelation sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The defense attorneys demanded an immediate mistrial, while Goldberg's lawyers scrambled to contain the damage. Outside the courthouse, protests erupted as the public called for Hartman's immediate removal from the bench. Judge Hartman, visibly shaken, attempted to maintain control, but the damage was done. His credibility was destroyed, and within hours, he was forced to recuse himself from the case. The lawsuit, once thought to be a surefire victory for Goldberg, crumbled under the weight of its own corruption. The aftermath. Justice prevails. With Hartman removed, an independent review of the case was launched, and the findings were damning. Not only was Goldberg's lawsuit riddled with fabricated evidence, but it was revealed that she had been pressured by political operatives to file the case in the first place. Facing mounting scrutiny, Goldberg withdrew the lawsuit entirely, issuing a carefully worded statement that stopped short of admitting any wrongdoing. But the fallout didn't end there. Judge Hartman faced immediate ethics violations and was disbarred within weeks. Several of Goldberg's attorneys were investigated for misconduct, and the whistleblower who had come forward received national praise for their bravery. And at the center of it all was Karoline Leavitt, the woman who had dared to take on corruption at the highest levels and won. Her actions not only exposed a scandal but reaffirmed the power of truth in an era where justice often seemed out of reach. A victory for free speech. As Leavitt stood before the press, addressing the nation in the wake of the scandal, her words carried a weight that could not be ignored. "This case was never about justice," she declared. "It was about power, about silencing voices that challenged the status quo. But today, we proved that the American people will not stand for corruption. We will fight for truth, no matter who stands against us." The crowd erupted in applause, and across the country, millions watched as a young woman took on one of the most powerful industries in the world and emerged victorious. In the end, WHOOPI GOLDBERG'S lawsuit didn't just backfire. It became a cautionary tale of what happens when corruption meets courage. And for Karoline Leavitt, it was just the beginning of a career that promised to reshape the very fabric of American politics.